In a picturesque town like Bismarck, North Dakota, life typically unfolds with a comforting predictability. This serene community, with its tight-knit connections and tranquil streets, offers a sense of security and trust that feels almost impenetrable. Residents enjoy a slower pace of life, where the biggest concerns are often about local events and neighborhood news. Yet, beneath this calm and seemingly idyllic exterior, a disturbing narrative was quietly taking shape. A story that would disrupt the peace of Bismarck and lay bare a sinister underbelly of human nature. At the heart of this unsettling tale is Nikki Ensel, a 38-year-old woman who, despite her outwardly ordinary life, would soon become central to a crime that would capture national attention. Nikki seemed to fit perfectly within the town's serene setting, was married to Chad Ensel, a 42-year-old office assistant known for his reliability and gentle nature. To those who knew them, their life appeared to be one of simplicity and stability. However, as the events unfolded, it became clear that the facade of their seemingly perfect life was hiding something far more disturbing. Chad and Nikki Ensel's marriage, once full of promise and hope, gradually began to unravel as Nikki's discontent grew. Chad was a man of routine, finding comfort in the predictable rhythm of their life in Bismarck. He was content with their quiet existence, focused on his work and their modest home. In contrast, Nikki found herself increasingly dissatisfied with the status quo. Her life in Bismarck, though stable, felt stifling and limited. She yearned for excitement, financial independence, and experiences that stretched beyond the borders of their small town. This growing restlessness within Nikki reached a critical point in mid-2019 when she turned to the online world in search of something that seemed to be missing from her life. It was then that she encountered Earl Howard, a man living in Ontario, Canada. What began as casual online flirtation soon escalated into a full-blown affair. Earl was everything Nikki felt her life lacked. He was thrilling, adventurous, and represented an opportunity for a dramatic change. His presence in her life offered the promise of excitement and a potential escape from the confines of her everyday reality. As their online relationship deepened, Nikki became increasingly captivated by the prospect of a new beginning with Earl, setting the stage for a series of events that would dramatically alter the course of her life and shake the foundations of her marriage. As Nikki's affair with Earl Howard deepened, so did her dissatisfaction with her marriage. The relationship, which had begun with a spark of excitement, soon evolved into a serious and consuming affair. The more Nikki envisioned a future with Earl, the more her current life with Chad seemed to block her path to happiness. Chad, once a loving partner, increasingly became a barrier to her dreams of a new and thrilling existence. Nikki's growing desperation and sense of entrapment in her unfulfilling marriage began to push her towards increasingly drastic measures. By late 2019, the affair had not only intensified her desire for change, but also led to the formulation of a chilling and dangerous plan. In collaboration with Earl, Nikki devised a scheme to remove Chad from their lives permanently. Their plan was as ruthless as it was calculated. They would stage Chad's death to appear accidental, thereby eliminating him as an obstacle to their future together. Central to their plan was the substantial life insurance policy that Nikki had taken out on Chad. This policy would provide a financial windfall that they intended to use to build their new life together. The plot involved meticulously planning Chad's demise in a way that would avoid suspicion and ensure the insurance payout. As Nikki and Earl moved forward with their sinister plan, the dark reality of their intentions began to take shape, setting the stage for a series of events that would irreversibly alter the lives of everyone involved. Nikki Ensel had meticulously planned every detail of her scheme to remove Chad from her life. In preparation for their drastic move, she had secured multiple life insurance policies on Chad, amounting to nearly $600,000. This substantial sum represented their ticket to a new life, a life unburdened by Chad's presence and the constraints of their current existence. The money was intended to provide the financial foundation for the future Nikki and Earl envisioned together. To ensure that their plan succeeded, it was crucial that Chad's death be both convincing and beneficial. As the date for the execution of their plan approached, Nikki and Earl carefully orchestrated their actions. On the night of January 1st, 2020, Earl Howard traveled from Ontario, Canada, to North Dakota under the pretense of a casual visit. The apparent normalcy of his visit masked the darker reality of his intentions. Earl's arrival was not just a friendly gesture, but a critical step in the execution of their murder plot. Nikki had set the stage for Chad's murder with meticulous precision. She had arranged for Earl to be present at a crucial moment when Chad's death would occur. The plan was designed to make Chad's death appear as an accident, thus avoiding suspicion and ensuring that Nikki could claim the life insurance payout. Earl's role in this deadly plot was pivotal, and the night of January 1st was to mark the beginning of their grim plan. The coordination between Nikki and Earl, coupled with their careful planning, was aimed at making the murder seem like an unfortunate accident, paving the way for the life they had planned together. On the night of January 1st, 2020, as Chad lay asleep in their home, Nikki and Earl executed their chilling plan with ruthless efficiency. Earl, equipped with a .22 caliber rifle, approached Chad's bedroom under the cover of darkness. In the quiet of the night, Earl took the final, irrevocable step in their scheme. Without hesitation, he fired 2 fatal shots into Chad's head, ending the life of the man who had once loved and supported Nikki. Chad's death was swift, and the peaceful life they once shared was shattered in moments. However, the murder of Chad was only the beginning of their elaborate plot. To complete their cover-up and erase any trace of their crime, Nikki and Earl embarked on a desperate attempt to destroy the evidence. Their plan included setting their house on fire to obliterate both the physical evidence and their sense of guilt. They carefully poured gasoline throughout the home, ensuring that the entire house was saturated. Once they had set the scene, they ignited the gasoline, unleashing a blaze that quickly engulfed the house in flames. The fire was intended to serve a dual purpose: to destroy any forensic evidence of the murder and to create a scenario that would make Chad's death appear as a tragic accident resulting from a house fire. As the flames consumed their home, Nikki and Earl hoped the inferno would effectively conceal their actions and provide them with the cover they needed to claim Chad's life insurance payout. Their scheme was a grim reflection of their willingness to sacrifice anything, including their humanity, to achieve their desired future together. The fire that Nikki and Earl had hoped would cover their tracks did not unfold as they had planned. On January 2nd, 2020, when firefighters arrived at the scene, they found the house partially burned but not entirely destroyed. The flames had caused significant damage, but the structure remained standing, and the fire had not consumed the entire property. Amidst the smoldering debris and charred remains, firefighters discovered Chad Ensel's body. The grim reality of Chad's death quickly became apparent. He had been shot, not killed by the fire. The discovery of Chad's gunshot wounds revealed that the fire was a failed attempt to obscure the true cause of death. Detectives immediately recognized that this case was far from ordinary. The presence of a partially burned house combined with a gunshot wound raised red flags and indicated a deliberate attempt to mislead investigators. As the investigation unfolded, detectives began to piece together the fragmented evidence. Nikki Ensel's erratic behavior and conflicting statements drew suspicion from the outset. Her emotional responses seemed inconsistent with someone who had just lost a spouse, and her explanations about the night of the fire and Chad's death did not add up. Further scrutiny revealed a complex web of deceit involving Nikki's affair with Earl Howard. Detectives uncovered details of their relationship and the significant life insurance policies Nikki had taken out on Chad. The financial motive, combined with the evidence of premeditation and the failed cover-up attempt, pointed directly to Nikki as the orchestrator of the crime. The investigation into Chad Ensel's death began to unravel Nikki and Earl's carefully constructed plan, exposing their plot and leading to a deeper inquiry into their actions and motivations. The case took on a new dimension as detectives delved into the personal and financial entanglements that had driven Nikki to such extreme measures. The investigation into Chad Ensel's murder reached a pivotal moment when Earl Howard was apprehended in Canada and subsequently extradited to North Dakota. Facing serious charges and the prospect of a lengthy prison sentence, Earl chose to cooperate with authorities. His decision to confess proved to be a significant turning point in the case. Earl's confession provided crucial details about the murder, revealing the full extent of the plan and confirming Nikki Ensel as the mastermind behind the plot. In his testimony, Earl described how he had been recruited by Nikki to carry out the murder and outlined the sequence of events leading up to and following Chad's death. His account included the meticulous planning, the execution of the murder, and the attempt to destroy evidence with the house fire. Earl's confession painted a clear picture of premeditation and greed, illustrating how Nikki's desire for a new life and financial gain drove them both to commit the crime. With Earl's cooperation, the case against Nikki Ensel became increasingly robust. The evidence against her was overwhelming and multifaceted. It included her affair with Earl, which had provided both the motive and the opportunity for the crime. The substantial life insurance policies she had taken out on Chad revealed her financial incentive. The failed attempt to destroy evidence, marked by the botched house fire, highlighted her desperation and the lengths she was willing to go to cover her tracks. The convergence of this evidence built a compelling case against Nikki. Her involvement in the murder, driven by betrayal and calculated cruelty, was now undeniable. The investigation had exposed the depths of her deceit and the cold calculations behind her actions, culminating in a case characterized by profound personal and moral failings. In October 2022, Nikki Ensel faced trial for the murder of her husband, Chad. The courtroom atmosphere was charged with tension and anticipation as the prosecution began presenting their case. They depicted Nikki as a woman who had meticulously orchestrated her husband's death for financial gain. The prosecution's narrative was bolstered by a detailed account of Nikki's motives, including the substantial life insurance policies she had taken out on Chad and her affair with Earl Howard. They portrayed Nikki's actions as a premeditated scheme driven by greed and betrayal. The defense faced a formidable challenge in countering the overwhelming evidence against Nikki. Despite their efforts, they struggled to refute the prosecution's compelling arguments. The case against Nikki was built on a strong foundation of evidence, including Earl Howard's testimony, which provided crucial details about the conspiracy and her central role in it. Earl's account of how Nikki had planned and executed the murder, along with the failed attempt to cover it up, reinforced the prosecution's position. The trial also saw poignant and emotional testimonies from Chad's family and friends. They spoke about the profound impact of Chad's death on their lives and the deep sense of betrayal they felt. Their testimonies provided a human element to the case, highlighting the personal loss and anguish experienced by those closest to Chad. Throughout the trial, the prosecution's case was strengthened by the clarity and detail of Earl Howard's testimony. His confession and subsequent testimony outlined the conspiracy in vivid detail, leaving little doubt about Nikki's involvement and intent. The combination of Earl's testimony, the overwhelming evidence, and the emotional testimonies from Chad's loved ones created a powerful and compelling narrative that swayed the jury in favor of the prosecution. After a tense period of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict. Nikki Ensel was found guilty on all counts related to the murder of her husband, Chad. The gravity of the verdict was underscored by the severity of the sentencing. The court sentenced Nikki to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring that she would spend the rest of her life behind bars. Her conviction was a reflection of the calculated nature of her crime and the overwhelming evidence presented against her. Earl Howard, who had cooperated fully with the authorities, received a reduced sentence as part of a plea agreement. Despite his cooperation, the court sentenced him to several decades in prison for his role in the murder. His reduced sentence was a concession for his willingness to testify and provide crucial details about the conspiracy, but it did not absolve him of responsibility for the crime. The verdict offered a measure of justice for Chad Ensel's family and friends, but it could not undo the profound pain and loss they experienced. Chad's family was left grappling with the emotional fallout of his death and the betrayal by Nikki, who had been a trusted and loved member of their lives. The sense of betrayal and the impact of Chad's murder were deeply felt, and the verdict, while providing a degree of closure, could not erase the grief or mend the emotional wounds inflicted by the crime. The case of Nikki Ensel stands as a profound and unsettling example of how greed and betrayal can shatter lives. In a town like Bismarck, where life seemed predictably serene and uncomplicated, the true nature of Nikki's actions was a shocking revelation. What appeared to be a simple, small-town existence concealed a dark narrative of deceit and murder. Chad Ensel's death was the grim culmination of a plan driven by Nikki's financial desperation and her yearning for a new, more exhilarating life, one she was willing to secure at an unimaginable cost. The meticulous plotting, the cold execution of Chad's murder, and the subsequent attempt to destroy evidence all underscored the depth of Nikki's desperation and moral decay. Her betrayal of Chad, a man who had loved and supported her, transformed a seemingly ordinary life into a horrifying tale of calculated violence. The reality of the crime demonstrated how the desire for wealth and a new beginning could corrupt even the most basic human values, leading to the most extreme consequences. In Bismarck, life eventually resumed its typical rhythm, as it often does in small communities faced with tragedy. Yet, the impact of Chad Ensel's death continued to resonate deeply. The ripple effects of his murder extended far beyond the immediate events, leaving a lasting impression on those who knew and loved him. His story became a tragic reminder of how the darkest secrets often lie within the people closest to us, and how a single, profound act of betrayal can initiate a series of devastating outcomes. Nikki Ensel's story is not just about a life turned upside down by betrayal, but also about the fragility of trust and the destructive power of human greed. It serves as a stark reminder of the lengths to which individuals can go when driven by personal desires, and how such actions can irrevocably alter lives, leaving a legacy of pain and loss.